Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
I've mentioned before that at one point in time I had an M35 Deuce and a half Army truck. And one time I was driving it up north and I stopped at a rest area to rest. And I also checked the oil. And to check the oil in that truck, I would often put the hood up, stand on the bumper, and then lean inside and pull the dipstick. And standing on the bumper of that truck, I at one point went to step back and I was wearing sandals. And my sandals caught on a cotter pin holding in a pintle attachment there. And I fell backwards, and I put my arm down to break my fall, which is how you break bones, as well as break your fall. And I wound up breaking my thumb. And now I didn't break it so badly that it was dislocated or anything like that. But I left the area and I was driving along going, I wonder if this is how it's gonna feel when the numbness goes away. And it started to throb and it started to hurt pretty badly. And so I actually started thinking, where's the nearest place I can find some ibuprofen or something just in case that might help? And I went to a Walmart in Alpena, Michigan, which is up near here. And I went there, got some ibuprofen, was eating that stuff like candy for a week, didn't do anything much. And then later on, I went to a doctor who said, oh yeah, it's broken. And we got it taken care of. And obviously it's fine now because it works. But the reason I tell you that story is that store is in this story sent to me by Tim. Shopper arrested for not scanning every item at Walmart self-checkout and stealing $1,000 worth of items. Now, Christian Oliver wrote this for the Daily Mail, but it's been widely reported that the Michigan woman is being charged with theft after allegedly stealing from Walmart by not scanning items at the self-checkout and swapping out barcodes for cheaper items. And so I've read articles online. People talk about how you can go through the self-checkout. And many people actually say, well, it's kind of like, hey, I'm checking out my own stuff here. I should get some kind of compensation for this. So they've justified it that way. But Michigan State Police say a 34-year-old woman was using the self-checkout at the Walmart in Alpena when employees noticed she wasn't scanning each item she was putting in her basket. And of course, there are people watching those machines, and there's also probably overhead watchers in that respect. Walmart's loss prevention employees confronted her after seeing what she was doing, and then she became agitated and left the store. So a lot of people will do that where they get confronted. They think, hey, if I cause a scene, they'll let me leave. Well, they let her leave, but they came and got her later. Not Walmart, but the police. The Walmart store in Alpena reviewed their closed-circuit TV footage, which, of course, like I said, is the eye up there watching, and discovered that she had previously stolen more than $1,000 worth of items. She was then arrested by the Michigan State Police at her home nearby and was later charged with first-degree retail fraud. Now, their loss prevention workers had recently been tasked with cracking down on self-checkout theft. There were 2 recent incidents where people were caught not scanning items correctly and swapping barcodes at the self-checkout. So this is not the first time someone's been caught barcode swapping at that store. 36-year-old man was charged back in September for swapping the barcodes on inexpensive items for bigger ones, probably bigger priced items. After reviewing the surveillance footage, he was found to have stolen more than $1,100 worth of goods from that store. He's also charged with first-degree retail theft. I would love to see the numbers on a store like Walmart that is a high volume of shoppers and know what their inventory shrinkage amounts to. I bet it's huge. In 2019, Walmart rolled out artificial intelligence in its stores in an effort to crack down on thefts. The system uses selfie cameras to watch customers and make sure that every item is scanned. A spokesperson for the chain addressed the use of artificial intelligence. The spokesperson said, Walmart is making a true investment to ensure the safety of our customers and associates. Over the last 3 years, the company has invested over $500 million in an effort to prevent, reduce, and deter crime in our stores and parking lots. So apparently there's crime in the parking lots too that their artificial intelligence is fighting. We're continuously investing in people, programs, technology to keep our stores and communities safe. So, here's the thing. I don't like self-checkout. I find it annoying. I personally think that, they've got other places with people. If they've got them, I'll use them. And I don't like the idea that I've got to sit there and scan something and know where the code is. And I realize it's not that big of a deal, okay? But I'm not crazy about it, personally. I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong. It's one of the reasons I choose not to shop at Walmart if I can avoid it. Now, the situation with the ibuprofen, they were the only store that I would have seen that had that for a few more hours of driving. And that was the closest store. So I went there and got that. And by the way, that was over 10 years ago. So, hey, but you shop there. But the other thing is, like, I don't mind pumping my own gas for my car. But that's for a couple of reasons. One of which is I used to work in a gas station. So when I was a kid in high school, I pumped gas for other people all day long. And I don't mind pumping gas for my own car because I don't like the idea of somebody else even messing with my car, popping open the gas cap and doing. I realize you're going to say, Steve, that's very, very minor. Yeah, on most cars it is, but I just that I don't mind for some odd reason. But going through the self-checkout at a store, if they've got a live cashier, I will go to the live cashier. And I personally think that it's strange that they'll spend billions of dollars trying to get their self-checkouts to work better when they probably could hire people to do the job like they did in the old days. But I'm sure somebody somewhere's done the math and said, if we spend billions on this and get it right, then we can replace a bunch of people who would have cost us more. I'm assuming that's the case. But you'll recall also not so long ago, I did a video about people returning things to Lowe's and returning the same items supposedly over and over and over again by taking the receipt into the store and getting items off the shelf and saying, I bought these previously with this receipt, I want my money back. I have since now spoken to probably 4 or 5 different people who've weighed in on that. And I've also gotten communications from probably a couple dozen people who've weighed in on that. And ironically, I've been told everything from, Steve, you're right. In fact, it would be so easy to do, they could do it at almost no cost to them, to, Steve, it is impossible to do, they could never do it in a million years, the technology doesn't exist. So not everyone who's contacted me is right. It's impossible for them to all be right. But I had a long conversation yesterday with a gentleman who's an attorney, who before he became an attorney, worked on those systems, those actual systems, not at Lowe's, but at another company, probably about the same size. And he said, well, they could do it. They could do it. But it would be such a hassle and the cost and expense of doing it, that is, setting up the computer systems to handle this and catch this better. He goes, it's probably a cost-benefit analysis that they've decided not to take. In other words, they just said, we're not going to invest all that money to try to reduce this one oddball kind of theft. So I believe it would be possible. The question, of course, is what would the cost be and what would the return be on that cost? The bigger question I got from many people was, when I've gone to stores and returned stuff, somebody took a magic marker and drew a line across the receipt. Doesn't take a computer. All it takes is a magic marker. Why don't the stores do that? And that I don't know. And my whole point was, it seems to me there ought to be a way, okay, to see to it that this one receipt can only be used for one return. But I'm not going to go there with respect to whether I'm going to reprogram servers or not. Because I had somebody send me, I'm guessing, like a doctoral thesis on servers that was quite lengthy and verbose. And that's not why I'm here. Okay, so it just seemed to me there had to be a simpler way. But again, like I said, people are all over the board on that one. But in this case, the idea of people stealing at the scanners and the self-checkout, there have been articles written about this. They've got nicknames for the different scams and all kinds of, they know it's happening. They know it's happening. And it looks like they pretty much only catch people periodically, and it's the ones who are the big abusers of this. One of the questions I often thought of when I'm watching the scanners and the self-checkouts, because a lot of the stores I go to have both, okay? And the question is, let's suppose you're scanning a bunch of stuff, and what if you scanned something and it didn't scan, but you thought it did? That's my biggest concern, is that I could make an honest mistake. And I understand that if you scan it and put it down, the machine is supposed to tell you item did not scan, but do I want to trust my legal safety to a machine that may or may not be right? So, but this story caught my eye, and Tim sent it to me and says, hey, Steve, this happened in Michigan, so you might want to check this out. But I've been to this store. Like I said, I know what I bought there. I bought ibuprofen there the week I broke my thumb falling off the front bumper of my M35. Shopper arrested for not scanning every item at Walmart self-checkout and stealing $1,000 worth of items. And that story made international news because this version of it's coming from the Daily Mail. So there you go. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law.
Every path has a few puddles.